With regard to this particular president, you have occasionally advised President Biden on historical matters, major speeches. Can you tell us anything about his warning, his goodbye speech on Wednesday? First of all, did you help him craft that message?
I did. I was part of a group that helped with that speech, yes.
So where did it come from? What was it his thought that was the genesis of it and you picked up? How did that work?
Well, I try not to talk about the process, but I think I can say it is entirely President Biden's message. It was very much on his mind and heart, and a message that he wanted to make absolutely clear as he leaves the stage after 51 years, 52 years of federal service. And I think the speech and the president's record speak for themselves. And I think what the country is going to be adjudicating as we go through the next 48 months or so was the right decision made in the 2024 election? Will what 49.9% of the folks who voted, what they wanted, is that in fact the best thing for the country? And that's the remarkable thing about history, is how does this unfold? And I think there are a lot of people who are anxious. There are a lot of people who are enthusiastic. And that's how history is shaped.
You don't have a crystal ball, but you do know how history unfolds. You've studied it. What do you think the likelihood is that Joe Biden's words in that speech that we've just gone over, the concern about having a tech industrial complex and it becoming a bit of an oligarchy, how much do you think it could come to pass that people look back on and say that was prophetic?
I think it's certainly quite likely. You know, the point the issues we're dealing with, I believe, is we can argue about policy all day long and always have. One of the things we shouldn't have to argue about as we approach our 250th anniversary is the Constitution, the rule of law, a sense of fair play, the notion that there is always a peaceful transfer of power, very fundamental threshold questions about the social compact, about the covenant. And as long as we agree on the rules, then we can debate everything else. What was so troubling to so many people, me included, was that 4 years ago, President Trump did not accord President Biden the peaceful transfer that is unfolding now. And this is not me being reflexively liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I believe very much in the constitutional order. I don't believe in most cases either party has a monopoly on truth or virtue. But I do believe that if we don't have a common set of rules and of facts, and also have a measure of grace, a measure of proportion, then this experiment that we've been doing for 250 years is in trouble. And this is fundamentally a human undertaking. This is about our capacity to listen to each other. It's about our capacity not to believe that we are always right. Maybe there are people who are always right. I have not met them. I look forward to that at some point. But it's not a Sunday afternoon homily. I'm not trying to preach about it. But if you sort of take a deep breath for a second and think about the complications, the chaos of human events and of human nature, it is amazing that this republic has lasted as long as it has. And it's lasted as long as it has because just enough of us at critical moments have decided that the Declaration of Independence, that's our mission statement, and that reaching out and defining more broadly who is included in we the people, that the broader that definition is, the stronger we become. And I think that's the principle we have to bear in mind.
The keeper of the flame. That last part of the speech, the president beseeching all of us to keep the flame, beautifully written, beautifully delivered. Is that illustrating exactly what you've just said?
Well, let me just speak for myself. Again, the President of the United States can speak for the President of the United States. I think about what Ronald Reagan said in January of 1989. He talked about how, in a remarkable speech that Peggy Noonan has told the story of how she wrote, he said, "I've used the phrase city on a hill all my political life." It's a phrase from John Winthrop, and Winthrop took it from Jesus. President Reagan, by the way, took city on a hill from the Sermon on the Mount and added the word shining, proving that Reagan could improve on Jesus. You know, it's a great edit when you think about it. But what President Reagan said there was, "I may not have always said what I meant when I said it." And what I meant is that it's a city where all the pilgrims from all the lost places who are hurtling through the darkness toward home can find a beacon of freedom, and that beacon emanates from the Declaration and this commitment to individual worth, individual dignity, and what I would say, what Lincoln said is we should all have an open field and a fair chance. That's the American experiment. It's kind of like describing the wallpaper, but what we learned 4 years ago is that sometimes you have to describe the wallpaper. And so as a country, let's remember how we started, what we've gotten wrong, which is a lot, and what we've gotten right, which is also a lot. And let's try to get more right than wrong.
I want to ask one more question about President Trump. It has been reported, Axios led that reporting, that he wants to now be seen as a unifying force. How can such a polarizing figure ever be a unifying force? Is there someone in history that had a level of polarization that did an about-face and turned around and brought the country together?
Well, President Trump has made a choice. Right? He's made a choice in his public life to speak the way he speaks, to act the way he acts. Part of my objection to a lot of President Trump's behavior is not based on a political opinion. It's that he uses language, he uses imagery that even his adjacent supporters will say, and how many times have you heard this in the last 10 years? Well, I don't agree with everything he says, but X, Y, Z, right? So my objections are based on what he says and what he does, not my interpretation of what he says or what he does. So he has chosen to do that. I think there's one possibility here, which is that what matters to all presidents, but I think particularly in this case to a new president and particularly to President Trump, is he would like to be seen as successful. He wants this to be, as he's put it, and I'm sure we'll hear this phrase tomorrow, he wants America to enter a golden age. Okay, tell us what that looks like, as President Reagan did in his farewell address. Tell us what it looks like. And if that vision is one in which perhaps we aren't having a constant struggle and war every day with all cap social media posts and attempts to bully people and dismiss people, deride people. If he can stop doing that. And if he stops doing that, that will, by definition, be somewhat unifying. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a choice. It's a choice. He has made it. This is important, Alex, if you will. He's made a choice. He rose to power in a certain way. He can choose to wield power in a different way if he wishes to.